Okay, there's some helicopters flying around. Don't know if they're looking for me or not, but so one thing I really dislike about society as a whole right now is that cancel culture is very much a thing, because sometimes people have really good ideas and they just get thrown underneath the bus because of something they've said 10 years ago or something they tweeted about when they were 7. And then there are some people who kind of warrant the being swept underneath the bus. But then, like, society as a whole, they just like swarm around this person anytime they try and do anything, and it really grinds my gears. Like, people don't care enough to look into things before they gain an opinion about it. Anyway, that's just a long spiel to say I'm gonna watch Gwyneth Paltrow's Netflix show, so you don't have to. You're welcome. While drinking my smoothie. So I am a believer in Western medicine. I'm a firm believer in allowing patients, clients, people, whatever title you want to give them, to use things that they feel works best for their bodies. We call it complementary medicine when it's working in conjunction with Western medicine. Now, if you're using these complementary healing modalities on their own, away from Western medicine, then that's alternative therapy. I'm not really an advocate for alternative medicine. Complementary medicine, absolutely, you knock your socks off, alright? Let's bring it up on my screen here on Netflix. Let's dive into the healing trip.
When I started Goop in 2008, I was like, my calling is something else besides, you know, making out with Matt Damon on screen or whatever.
She says funny things, but her delivery is just dull, just so dull.
Like, we're here one time, one life. Like, how can we really, like, milk the shit out of this? Are you guys ready to go out in the field and make a ruckus?
Yeah.
You can handle it, right?
I don't know what it is about them laughing. It's just so cringy for me. Okay, so here's like a good point for this. There's a warning. Okay, this is not intended to replace medical doctors. It's just for entertainment, alright? Just sit back, enjoy it.
Can you explain to us what MAPS is?
MAPS is the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, and it's an organization that supports and does and fundraises for psychedelic research.
I would personally love to know a little bit about the trajectory of using psychedelics as a healing modality.
There actually has been research about using psychedelics in like trauma therapy, and they've actually had some decent results as far as I can tell, but it's usually with microdosing, not like full-on acid or mushroom trips. Mushrooms in healing PTSD. There's an article from the Journal of Palliative Medicine. There's expanding evidence confirming safety and benefits. The federal expanded access program and right to try laws in multiple states provide precedents for giving terminally ill patients access to medications that have not yet earned FDA approval. Let's see if we can find this article. This one looks like a review, which are really good to look at because they give you more information. It's scientific research based on like other research that has already happened. Blah blah blah. All 5 versions. Let's see if we can find. Here's the ResearchGate PDF. There we are. Let's skim right down to the conclusion because I'm lazy. The psychedelic 5-HT2A agonist, psilocybin, is beginning to demonstrate potential for treating psychiatric disorders related to anxiety, depression, and substance use. This therapy is a new investigational psychiatric treatment paradigm characterized by only a few 6-hour medication therapy sessions with psychological support. These sessions, supported by several weeks of integrative psychotherapy sessions, may significantly improve symptom scores and help patients achieve response to or remission within weeks, which could persist for many months after taking it. And this was published in 2017. 2017. Okay, so it's just starting to come back into like the mainstream thing. Anyway, I am off track. Let's go back.
Have been part of the human history for thousands of years in the context of spirituality, healing, and celebration of transitions.
Why do you think it's coming into the mainstream now?
You know, there's depression, anxiety, suicide is all increasing, despite what we thought in the 90s was this renaissance of psychopharmacology. You know, Prozac, Celexa, Zoloft. Psychiatry left psychotherapy behind, and we embraced these drugs that we all know give terrible side effects.
But are amazing drugs. If you need them, take them. Try a few until you find one that works. And these drugs were never intended to be given in place of psychotherapy, counseling, or therapy. It's meant to be given with these other modalities. Poo-poo on this fella for saying that in such a way that it seems like antidepressants are a bad thing, and poo-poo on Gwenyth Paltrow for editing her show to discourage people from taking medications that they might need.
We decided to try psilocybin, also known as magic mushrooms, in Jamaica, where their use isn't regulated. So unlike the clinical trials, we're doing this in a more ceremonial setting. But our amazing facilitator, Jillian, is affiliated with MAPS, and Richard and Sasha, who work with her, are also very experienced therapists. They're like psychedelic elders.
I love that term.
The indigenous people who have used these medicines for years have really traditionally used them curing illnesses, like physical illnesses, and they're rather perplexed by us Westerners that show up and want to connect with the divine. They think we're a little odd, and what is missing is, in their context, is that is our illness, is that we do not have any connection with anything other than ourselves and the material world. So this is the medicine.
I mean, it's not science, but I do think there is a little bit of truth behind that.
I would like to understand myself in the context of a bigger universe beyond how I intellectualize it in my brain. I want to, surrender to the experience, let it happen, try not to mentally override.
The psychedelic elder is just like, God, you are so full of shit. Just the way she talks just kind of grates me a little bit.
I'm here to just let go more and do a lot of healing and get over a lot of trauma that I've experienced when my dad died. When he killed himself 5 years ago, it really just, the doors swung open.
Psychedelics amplify painful memories, they amplify painful emotions, they bring them to the surface so that we can deal with them. You know, you've got these people who are now flying down to Peru or taking ayahuasca in a warehouse in Brooklyn without the proper support, thinking, oh, I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna be much better the next day, but it can actually be incredibly destabilizing and you can actually feel worse in the short term.
Is that why you hear of, people who took LSD and had psychic breaks, like they took it recreationally? And
The bad experience with psychedelics, and there are many of them, all come down to three things. It's inappropriate dosage, inappropriate set, which is the expectation going into the experience, or inappropriate setting. And the setting is the environment that it was taken in.
I don't think there's enough research for him to have actually said that and back it up. Psychotic breaks are mostly idiopathic. We don't know what exactly causes them. But yes, psychedelics, even marijuana, pot, can cause a psychotic break by taking your mind to that next level. But it's so situational that it's really hard to get any scientific data to back it up.
One day online, I saw an advertisement for the NYU cancer anxiety study. I realized that's me. It was using psychotherapy and drug psilocybin. I've seen a profound change in my life and a much greater openness. This experience gave me the life I have now, which I love.
Oh, what a great case study. The case study is just one individual, usually, and their experience might not be indicative of what a whole population might experience. It's not a quantitative study, it's just one particular person. In order for it to be quantitative, we have to have multiple people from the same population group all have similar outcomes. It studies the phenomenon that she experienced. That lays the groundwork for future studies.
This is a sacrament, so we can be with the spirit.
So they've titrated the dose based on what their expectations are.
So you can start by letting go of your name and then your job title. You know, that's just the work you do. That doesn't really tell you what you actually are.
It sounds fluffy, but it is true.
Letting go of time. No past, no future. You can let go of your gender. What happens, kind of get out of the driver's seat and let life take care of itself.
Shit goes down.
Without you, even just for a few minutes.
Hell breaks loose.
So how does it work?
So traditional talk therapy is a back and forth engagement.
Oh, I know.
And often a discussion about the issues and maybe some suggested ways of thinking about it. Psychedelic psychotherapy is completely different.
Counselors and therapists are different. Counselors are the talk. You just talk about the issues and encourage you to keep bringing it up. Therapy tells you how to change the way that you think about it, more or less.
So what the mind tends to do when we have a traumatic experience is that it splits. It splits the memory from the emotion. And what we want to do with the healing is to have the memory of what happened with the emotion combined and then have the empathic experience.
I got blown up in a porta-john in Iraq. Crappiest place to get blown up, but hey. I put a gun to my head twice and pulled the trigger. In one case, the ammunition was faulty from the manufacturer. In the second case, a spring broke. I found MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, and they were doing a clinical trial of psychotherapy under the influence of MDMA. But MDMA mutes the amygdala, which is the fear response, that fight or flight. I could actually get close to the trauma and talk about it without my body betraying me and causing panic attacks. Oh my God. It was the first time I could actually open up and deal with it. It eliminated the suicidal ideation.
So a microdose of mushrooms is a very, very small amount that is likely not to make you feel the very intense psychoactive effects of mushrooms. I was personally going through a lot of depression and trauma and anxiety. I progressed towards feeling really, really suicidal. My mind became my worst enemy. Over this time, I've witnessed a transformation in myself that I really didn't think was possible.
We need to find ways of connecting people.
Yeah, no,
These
absolutely.
medicines are medicines of connection. We've just scratched the surface of where we're going to go with psychedelic psychotherapy.
MAPS is actually already applied to the government to get special access before it's fully rescheduled. So that application process is in. I think MAPS is training about 250 or 300 therapists this year to prepare for that wave.
All said and done, that was actually a pretty decent episode. It was very cringy at times, and I felt a little uncomfortable at times watching it. I think Gwyneth Paltrow is very fluffy when she speaks, and as is that Alicia. She's also a little funny when she's speaking. There's some slippage into pseudoscience, but there was actually a lot of scientific things presented in that episode. Psychedelics absolutely have a place in psychotherapy and psychology, and I really hope that there's going to be more research about that coming up. And I do hope that one day that they will be decriminalized, because I don't believe in criminalization of things like that. I think if people are going to do it, they're going to do it regardless. So you may as well make it more of a safe thing, not something that has to be hidden or be ashamed of. So I give that a 2.5 scientists out of 5. See you for episode 2. Sorry.